solutions and impact of our fellows in their workplaces and communities. So a lot of ladies have gone through this accelerator program and are currently making waves in the technology and business sector today. So our impact is, since inception, we've had about 6 boot camps in various locations. We've had in Benin, we've had in Enugu. We trained, like I said before, we trained over 370 girls, and then we've impacted 12,000 people, not just through our boot camps and trainings, but also through our monthly webinars where we invite speakers to impart knowledge on us in technology and business sectors. Recently, we had a partnership with Data Camp for data analysts and data scientists, which really made waves. I can remember on Twitter, people were sharing it and thousands of ladies registered. So our impact, we're just starting and we hope to achieve more as time goes on. All right, so for the main event of today, I'd like to welcome someone, our speaker for today's event. And see, she's already waiting. So, pardon me. Our speaker for today is an observability engineer on Paystack, and she'll be teaching us on DevOps Engineering, a beginner's guide. So many of us think of tech as mainly web dev, product design, and also app development, but there are so many fields in technology today, and another aspect is DevOps. So Onyinye started her journey into tech as a writer with Tech Point Africa, where she crafted creative and insightful stories about the African tech and startup space and validated her interest to delve into software engineering. But despite her initial desire to be a back-end engineer, Onyinye has gained valuable experience in the DevOps space over the years. So she has managed the reliable deployment and delivery of quality software to end users, and working with large, diverse development teams. She currently works with Paystack as an observability engineer, and she holds a Bachelor of Science in Microbiology from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and she has earned other IT certifications, including the Amazon Web Services and Kubernetes certifications during the course of her career. And she's invested a lot in helping young women kick off their careers in tech while she continues to make great strides in hers. So, Onyinye, please, the floor is yours. Welcome. Oh, she's here. She can't hear me.
I can hear you. Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
Let me turn on my video and put your faces in here. So I am Onyinye, and like he has rightly introduced, I am supposed to be sharing like my journey as a DevOps engineer and just giving you guys beginners level 2. Thank you for having me. I hope that you gain valuable just valuable lessons or guides from this. Like it'll be good to know that this helped someone later along the line. So am I free to turn up my video, or would you prefer for me to have it on?
No, feel free.
So I can. Thank you. I will just go straight into my presentation. Let me try to share my screen.
Okay, stop there. Okay.
Hello, is there any error? Okay, great, awesome.
I'm sorry, can you see my screen? Oh.
Yeah.
You can. Okay, cool. Yeah, so pretty much just going through DevOps engineering for a beginner's guide, really. So not I'll just call it DevOps gist. I think I'll just start by saying, what do DevOps engineer do? What do we do? What do I do? Me and all my fellow colleagues, right? So the day-to-day job of a DevOps engineer may differ. I might tell you what I do, and you might hear another DevOps engineer say what they do, and it might not be exactly similar. This is because, based on maybe company structure, your engineering structure, or your DevOps maturity, you might find yourself like doing maybe somewhat different stuff. But yeah, regardless, I think that the general expectation for every DevOps engineer, like regardless of what you find yourself doing at any particular point in time, is to keep applications up and running. So typically, if an application goes down, you most likely hear DevOps first. If there is like an incident call, or if like there's a major incident, you most likely have a DevOps engineer among the troubleshooting team or among the people trying to figure out what's happening. So as a DevOps engineer, you have to like expect all of those things. And another thing is that people will really expect you to know stuff, even stuff that you don't think that you should know. It may be like an unrealistic expectations, but like that is what like DevOps engineers face in their everyday work. Like someone will just ask you something and be like, "Oh, am I supposed to know that?" Well, yeah. People just expect you to know things. So the thing is, really smart DevOps engineer knowing how busy and how how they feel like they're in the center of everything. Smart DevOps engineers try to like think about ways to not be, should I say bugged? It may not come off as, it can come off as bugging, but you just need to find a way to not be at the center of everything, and you can focus on, like real work and not just unplanned stuff. So what am I giving you all this? I just need you to have a picture of what like a typical DevOps engineer goes through. They come to work and they say, "Oh, I'm going to do this 1, 2, 3 things," but before the end of the day, they've done 20 things and none of the 3 things are on the list. If you're not careful, it may be different for some people. If you are in a company where their DevOps stage is like really matured, yes, it may be quieter, saner, but like worst case scenario, this is how it goes. But why is that so really? Let's think about what every tech company wants. In the end, everybody wants to make money. Like every profitable tech company wants to, or every company that's looking to be profitable wants to make money. And for them to make money, they have to keep their customers happy. And for them to keep their customers happy, as a tech firm, you just have to be ready to deliver reliable products and services to your users. Now, imagine how you feel when you go to access Facebook and Facebook is down, or you go and access Twitter. It's just, they're not down for too long, but when they are, like everybody feels it. So that is it for all tech companies. They want to be able to assure their users that, oh, I can give you quality software. Quality software meaning no bugs, no unpredictable behavior. Don't charge a customer 2 times, or don't do funny things. Like I don't want to come and use an app that is buggy. That's one. And a lot of times they want to be highly available. So I want my customers to be able to access my app at all times. This is like the goal for like every real, like every serious tech company. And you can imagine how it is, even if you're dealing with a slow site now, it gets frustrating, not to talk of if people cannot even access your site at all. Another point is good tech companies, or tech companies that are serious about making money, needs to be sure that they understand what the users want and they can respond quickly. So if I push the blue button and my users want a pink button, I should be able to quickly change my code to reflect that, this is what these people want. Speed, velocity is important. Also, they want to try as much as possible to avoid consequences of not meeting their users' expectations. There's one thing that if my service goes down, I may lose customers or my reputation will be bad. There is also the instance of if my service goes down and I breach an agreement that I've reached with my customer, they can sue me. They can make me pay you sums. So there's also that part. If you have reached an agreement, so for instance, I want to Paystack and we power thousands of businesses. If Paystack should go down, businesses will suffer for the length of the time that we are down. There will be people around the world that will not be able to pay. This is bad consequence. This is like, and if, for instance, we made a pact with somebody that will be up 23 out of 24 hours, which of course is very bad, but for instance, and then we are down 3 hours in a day, they can always come and see us. So good companies will always try to avoid situations like that. Also, imagine if you push a bug to like an airline company, for instance, and the plane crashes. Like the repercussions of just making mistakes in production can be very grave. So every company wants a DevOps team that can make happy customers. You may have your customer service engineers or people in business that typically look out for customers, but if they have to talk about a product that is bad, or if they finish their sweet talk and they come and make bad products, then it's all pointless. So you should now be getting an idea of why DevOps engineers are like said that. People in business, typically, people just expect that when there's a DevOps engineer, we should have good software in production. Or if they finish their sweet talk and they come and make bad products. Yeah. So what the DevOps used to look like before, or what did software development used to look like before DevOps? You had typically people just expect that dev guys who would naturally just be programmers, typically focused on their code, focused on building new features. And then you have like the ops guys, operations. And the operation team would just be responsible for, the dev guys that don't coding. Now we have to make it run. The dev guys, we have to deploy it to our servers. And we have to make sure that it's running well, right? But this is the thing. The ops guy is looking at a lot of times manual. They'll have to tinker with this code manually. As they're trying to deploy, they probably notice issues and have to go back to the dev guy and say, your software is bad, or this is wrong, this is what I'm getting, these are the errors. And they'll do all that back and forth. And before the code finally runs and deploys. So you can imagine if the ops guy is trying to tell you, I can't be deploying new release every day. I'll be deploying maybe twice in a month. Just so that you're not giving him too many changes that can break the environment, or he can work with that large piece of code that you're giving him at that time, him or her. And then the dev guys, why all this back and forth is going on, they are building. So I'm building feature A, I'm giving it to the ops guy, and he has not even deployed it. I'm working on feature B. It's confusing. It's just chaos, right? The dev team would typically want to go fast or release new features as fast as they can. But of course, because the ops team is limited in maybe like most likely not using enough automation, and just trying to ensure that every day you give me this large chunk of code, you're not going to cause problem on production. This discrepancy can just slow down how fast we get software to prod and how fast our customers, can enjoy the delivery of our services. So what does DevOps aim to do, or what is the goal of DevOps? It's really like, how can we overcome organizational barriers so that we can deliver software better and faster?
how can this dev team and this ops team that have like this operations team that has structure, they have the same goal, right? Everybody wants to develop take good software that will work in the world. That's the general goal, but they have like their own different concerns. So how can we merge these two guys together? How can they work together? How can they collaborate together? So that that process of taking code from the developer's laptop, the production environment where it's going to be accessed by the end user is seamless and everybody gets what they want. So to define DevOps, this is a combination of cultural philosophies, practices, and tools that increases an organization's ability to deliver applications and services at high velocity. Emphasis at quality applications and high velocity. Very essential if you're a serious tech company in the market today. You cannot be trying to develop a feature that your competitors have released 1 month ago and you're still fighting with your servers because something is failing. You're not ready. People will run you out of business, basically. So if you can see this symbol is like an infinity sign, and if you're used to DevOps, you would you get used to it. You'd have seen it come up once or twice. It's actually infinity for a reason. It's just continuity, right? You can see that there is a portion where like there's a dev place and there is a portion where there's an ops place, and it goes in that loop. Once the DevOps guys plan, and then the code they build, they test the applications in other environments, push a release. Then operations continue from there. They deploy, they monitor, and we feed back into the dev loop. It means that the DevOps guys are going, the operations, the dev guys will get feedback from the operation guys that they will put into consideration when they are planning. So today, when the dev guy is thinking about pushing his code, he's not just thinking about, oh, I'm done with this code, take it. He's thinking about, oh, how am I code? What will happen when my code is here? How can I write my code better so that it's highly available and stuff like that? So it's really about bringing these two teams to work better together. Yeah. So what are like the core values of DevOps? Like what would really drive DevOps in an organization? First of that value is culture. And it's very important. The fact that everybody now understands that we are all in this together, right? This is no more when a problem happens, we start sharing blame. Oh, is this team? Is that thing? Because typically when you come to like some organizations, you may have like a core DevOps team that will handle maybe infrastructure provisioning, monitoring. But then you have organizations that break out some of these functions. They may have like an infrastructure team separately, or have like an observability team separately, which is what I currently do. Or you may just have the whole lump as DevOps. Whichever way it is, everybody needs to understand important that this is something we must do. This is everybody's responsibility and we must own it. If not, DevOps is not going to work. So I remember in my former place, when I got in, we had tools. We had tools that normally, if you click, you should deploy straight to prod. But I realized that a lot of times to fail, right? Engineers did not know how to use it. It feels that they don't care. They just come back and tell the DevOps team, oh, I can't do this. And then you solve it. But then we have to start enforcing. If you are trying to use one of our tools and you make a mistake or something fails, I'll tell you what to do and you go and fix it. That way they know that, oh, we are supposed to own part of these things. And when you keep telling them, oh, do this and fix it, one day they will get it and they'll stop coming back to you. So it's important that you establish that culture. This is why I said smart DevOps engineers start thinking of ways to how can I not be here? So if I can stop a developer from coming to me when they have an issue, all well and good. That's nice. So that culture is important. And we started doing that. And I noticed that when we now had new engineers coming, a lot of them were not used to that kind of lifestyle. And you will fight. Oh, go and do this yourself. And they say, you come. All I know is I want to deploy. Like I've had incidents like that. So it's important that you find ways, and that's where your processes come in. You find processes that can drive the culture. Some people will tell you that DevOps is not it shouldn't be a particular thing, that DevOps is a culture that everybody should have. Very true. But most people like to have a set of people that is really dedicated to driving that culture. That's why you see DevOps team. Another critical value is automation. If you don't want to be there doing everything, if I don't want to be deploying code to 1,000 servers manually, then I have to find a way to automate it. I have to find a way to make a machine do it instead of me. So at the center of DevOps, another thing that's very critical is automating, just automating processes. Automate how you deliver code to production as much as possible. So that also is very critical. Measurements is like the next thing. Remember, this is everything we're doing is how can I get this thing there? How can I take feedback when my code is running and use it to improve my next flow? If you are not measuring, if you don't know how many errors you have on your applications immediately, or if you don't know how long your page is taking to load on the average, you can't improve it. So it's important that you are measuring and you're getting critical metrics so that you know that, today we deployed and this thing happened. How can we avoid this by making these changes? So you measure to improve. And then sharing, very important, and which is closely linked to culture. Everybody must be ready to share their ideas, share their problems. If something goes wrong in production, don't try to hide it. Open it up so that people can like think about it, share ideas, and find a way around it. So feedback is extremely important for DevOps teams to be successful. So remember when I was trying to say, what the DevOps engineer just do? What you find DevOps engineers do is building a pipeline. And the pipeline is the pipeline to take code from a developer's laptop to servers in production. So the DevOps pipeline is a set of automated processes and tools, emphasis on some of the things we've highlighted as the core values of DevOps. Automated processes, tools that will allow the developers and operation professionals to work together to build and deploy code to production. So everything from when my code goes from my laptop to that server is your DevOps pipeline. And typically, like I've already highlighted, it's supposed to be continuous. There's not supposed to be a phase where we want to deploy code and the operations team is not ready. It shouldn't be like, it's supposed to be a continuous flow. So you can see that after the planning phase and after the developers have coded, they should be able to build, test. The arrows show you that these are things that should happen back and forth. They should be able to build, test, deploy, and the operations continue their work. Everything, or at least almost everything, being automated. So when I was talking about DevOps maturity, there's some companies you go to, they don't have automated processes, and you may be the one focusing on, let me do their CI/CD pipeline. Let me make sure that they can build. Let me make sure they can deploy automatically. There's some companies that have built that flow, and maybe the things they're worrying about is, how can I Dockerize my app? Or how can I make my app highly available? So like there are different stages in this pipeline that a DevOps engineer, may have to focus on in the course of your DevOps career. So what are the components of a DevOps pipeline? CI/CD, in short, in full, continuous integration and continuous deployment. So you remember that problem where the developer is coding, and he has this big block of code that he has to give to the operation guy to deploy. And because you are making a very big change, the likelihood that we'll have errors is big. So how can we take that away and have developers make small incremental changes? So I make a change, I commit to a shared repository, and we merge to master. I don't have to wait till I've built out the feature. I can just make a tiny change, commit it to the repository, we merge, and we test immediately. When you merge, your pipeline should automatically tell you, oh, this is a problem, and you fix it there and then. Like the feedback is instant. So it's different from, oh, we've given it to the ops guy is trying to deploy, and then things are like going off the hook, right? So continuous integration just means, oh, we can deploy our changes in small chunks, merge it with the full code base immediately, see if we have issues immediately, and then fix them. And then continuous deployment is, I can automatically take that code without anybody manually touching anything, and click one or two buttons, it can go to my test environment, click another button, it can go to my production environment, and I'm done. Some people even take it as far as, see, I've merged my code, run test on it, and before the test pass, deploy. Very risky, and maybe for only mature DevOps team, but yes, you can have it as smooth as that. So a process that will normally take like 2 months, like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, can happen in 5 minutes because everything's automated. And for your CI/CD, you typically have tools like GitHub or Bitbucket for version control. That's like the source where code is merged. And then you have build tools like Jenkins, Mambu, GitHub Actions. Some of these tools can help you with the building phase, and then also, deploy your apps directly to your production environment. Another thing is continuous testing, which we have already talked about. You should have your testing as part of your pipeline so that you're doing everything. When the developer merges, all the necessary tests is going to be run on his code. And if it is successful, he can push. Typically, he'll push to a staging environment, will test again. Some people have pre-prod environments, they'll test again. And then before we are confident that, oh, this code is fine to go on prod. So just testing and testing and testing till you are sure. But the good thing is, the DevOps engineer may not be the person who writes the test, but you need to make sure that it is fully automated. And so, yeah, you work with QA engineers for that. And some of the common test tools are like Selenium and JMeter. Continuous monitoring. When your code is on prod, you must monitor. You must monitor to get all those critical metrics that we want to measure. So you can assess, oh, this is how my app is performing. Is there an error? If the developers need to roll a fix, do they need to fix a bug? If you're not monitoring, you can't see all these things. And you can even also assess like how your users, there are monitoring tools that help you assess, oh, 90% of my users, they're using my app well, while 10% are suffering, stuff like that. You get all this feedback and then throw it back in real time, very quick. Application monitoring tools that are pretty common are like Datadog, New Relic. And then you can have like infrastructure monitoring tools like Nagios and Splunk. Splunk is mainly for security. And then continuous feedback is what we've been talking about. In all these processes, if there's something anybody should know, how we get in it, how we automating it, how do the developers have access to the logs, that's happening? When do they have access to your monitoring solution? Can they use it? This is just making sure that we get timely feedback. Timely, because everything in this field is based on time and velocity. Timely feedback to make necessary adjustments and quickly fix if they need to. Everything fast. And then continuous operations. We have our code running, we think it's fine. Oh, but I need to update my servers, or I need to make a new deployment. Whatever you do, the goal is your application should be up. If you need to fix a patch, you have to figure out ways that when you're fixing the patch, nothing goes down completely. So there are technologies for this. Some people do blue-green deploys. Some people do canary releases, deploy to a subset of users, or deploy to a subset of servers one by one. So if I have 10 servers, can I do it? Can I do my update on one, take it down, bring it back up before I take another one down? Yeah, those are like some concepts, some deeper concepts in DevOps engineering, but the goal is those servers have to be up at all times. Yeah, so you can see my infinity symbol again, and you can see a host of tools. There are many. I just gave you like some of the common ones, but typically you have plenty DevOps tools to choose from. And the bulk of your work is just analyzing, which stage are we in? What is the budget of my company? Which tools can we afford? Should we go open source? Which one fits our problem the most? There is no one size fits all for DevOps team. You have to look at the company, look at your situation, and then decide carefully that, okay, these are the tools we'll use, and these are the processes we'll follow. What works for company A may not work for company B or company C. So yeah, this is just like an overview of, how much options you have when you want to choose your DevOps tools. So do you want to do DevOps? Like right now, that's the question you should be asking yourself. Like, am I interested in DevOps? If the answer is yes, or if it's a field that excites you, then you have to learn and learn and learn and keep learning, because that's really like the only way. And we have talked about something like, if you're interested in DevOps, you should have a good idea of how a DevOps pipeline work, or how it should work. So you should learn about this stuff, and then you can explore, try to work with some of those tools, try to build your own pipeline. Okay, I have this code and I want to take it, create your own servers on the cloud, just play. And if you need guides, there are like random materials on the internet or courses. You have courses on Udemy. I personally like Code Cloud, and I've been using them for like some of my DevOps stuff. You can take courses on these platforms just to get a good sense of the things you need. Then I also said, don't be stuck in the learning loop. I've seen people, or tried to help people get into DevOps, and a lot of time they just learn and feel like, oh, I'm not ready. You can't have that mindset, because you will never be ready. There will always be something to learn. And to be honest, like when I was doing my introduction, and when I didn't have plans to do DevOps, right? So I pretty much learned everything on the job. I was going to my company thinking, oh, I want to do backend, and they're like, oh, we want you on the DevOps team. That's why we have space. And I'm like, okay, let me try it. So everything I learned on the job. So yes, you will learn, but don't stick there. You probably learn easiest if you get into a formal organization, and you start having real life scenarios. But yes, learn the basics and then start fighting to make your way into somewhere where you can actually test your learnings and pick up more skills. Yes, and I'm like, be deliberate about putting yourself in front of the opportunity. If you learn everything and nobody knows, there's no way that you're showing that, oh, I've learned these things or I know these things, then the chances of you like becoming a professional DevOps engineer will be slim. So you have to be intentional. The tricky thing about getting into DevOps or maybe even any IT career is that there is no one single path. I mean, maybe someone else have figured it out, but I haven't. Different people have their different stories. Some people started out as network engineers and they switched to DevOps. Some people, a lot of DevOps engineers you see, many have been software programmers, many have been, in other fields of IT, and then they switch. When it now comes to like, oh, I'm fresh, to be honest, I can't say that there's one single path, but you have to do your part of learning, and then you have to do your part of just being intentional about saying, I can do this. How can you prove to somebody that I can do this? If you are a social media person, and I hope that we can all be, I'm not, but if you are, it's a good idea to share what you learn. That way, if you share something, and you're in a DevOps or you are in an IT group, people have their eyes on you. Oh, this girl is always doing this thing. So tomorrow, if you say, oh, I want a job in your company, they can follow your journey. They have something to judge you by. So that can be a good start. Then join DevOps communities. I know a couple. I know that you guys are doing, I don't know how DevOps focused you are here, but there are, other very DevOps focused community. By the time you go in there, you are active, you follow their projects. In the end, people just need to know that you have the skills and they want to be able to trust that you do the work. And the only way that I can trust that you do the work is because I've seen you do something, and I can vouch. Oh, so this, she has been in my community for 2 years, and during the time or a few months, and she had been doing this. If that person sees an opening for DevOps tomorrow, and they ask her, or the way some people just come and ask me, like, do you know any DevOps engineer for this position? Sometimes I don't know because I can't recommend a random person, right? If I'm going to recommend somebody, it's because I know the person, has been active and, showing potentials. So identify yourself with communities and try and show yourself. It's not easy, but you have to try and show yourself. Also, like I said, don't be stuck in the learning loop. As you're learning, apply for positions. Junior DevOps, internship, try. Even as you're learning, like if you know you've learned like, the basics, just try. Even if you don't get the jobs, you begin to get an idea of what they want. Once you interview once, you interview twice, you begin to see the pattern and say, okay, I should focus on this area more, or I should focus on this area a little. Then, if you're like me, I want to take the easiest options that maybe like they're more expensive routes. There are like all these accelerator boot camps, and that was what I did. So when I was very sure that I wanted to focus on software, at that time I had been writing at Tech Point, and I'm like, what's the easiest way? I'm not very active on social media, and I just like to be in my space. So I'm like, what's the easiest way to, if I go and learn for 1 month, what's the easiest way to jump from that to this? And based on me and my own unique circumstances, I decided, oh, there's this accelerator that's going to offer me, that's going to give us internships after we take their program. So the Lord knows that I was in that place, but the only thing I was waiting for is see when you guys are done, come and get me internship offers. And that was really how I got in, because when we were actually done with the program, which was as a backend engineer at the time, these people took it upon themselves to now start arranging interviews for different companies. And the only reason why people can do this is because, you've worked with them. We've taught these people. So they have a certain degree of confidence. They can jump the ladder and talk to their CEO friend and say, this girl, we've worked with her, she's been doing well, grant her interviews, you see. Whichever way you decide to go, you can even try to do all of these things. But the point is, you have to be very intentional about how you think you want to switch. How do I go from microbiology to DevOps? How do I go for? You just have to sit down at the stats and carve out. Communications and collaborations is essential if you want to be a DevOps engineer. Like I said, you'll be at the center of everything basically, at least everything engineering. You get asked questions, you get pulled into things that you think you shouldn't even be pulled into, and you have to be able to communicate well, to send the message, not get people high. You also need to be able to gather people together to reach that goal, or, oh, we want to do this, and this. How do I get buy-ins from people? Very hard sometimes, but very essential. So once you get into your DevOps career, you should start thinking in that direction. Like, how do I communicate better? How can I win people without fighting wars? It's better if you can win them without fighting wars, but I mean, sometimes you might need to step on some people's toes. But yes, the easier the better. So your communication skills and collaboration skills will be essential. Skill up. The learning never ends. Till today, I still have to, oh, we're doing this new thing. Oh, these people are trying this new stuff, and learn. If you think that once you're in DevOps, then that is, no, you fade very fast. You have to skill up, and not just on DevOps related things, because I say that to be a successful DevOps engineer, you have to know like a little of everything. You have to have a good idea of what happens in networking. You have to have a good idea of what the QA engineers are doing, what the security team is doing, because you will work with all these people. And if you don't understand what they are doing, it can derail your own work. So there are times when you have issues and the developer is very fast to say, it's DevOps, or it's your pipeline. If you don't know how code works, it might be from their code, and well, you don't know. So you guys are spending 1 hour or 2 days debugging a problem that if you had a better idea of other areas, you'd have solved. So even when you get up, even when you get in, you keep trying to like learn your DevOps stuff and trying to learn other related skills as well, because it will help you go a long way. And then in everything, just have like a customer-focused approach. Just know that, oh, whatever we do, it is let the customer be happy. Let the customer be happy is let that application be up and running. For your application to be up and running, internally, your teams have to be happy. They need to be able to use the tools you've built. They need to be able to follow the processes you've put in place. So if you put an unnecessary process where developers get tired before they even start, it will reflect on how your product is finally deployed and how your customer perceives your product. So think about the customer and then start to go back to, mend your processes, adjust your tooling. Like I said, it's continuous improvements. When you learn, you come back, adjust, you keep iterating until you find what works for your company, and you keep developing your DevOps maturity. I always say that if you come to a place and everywhere is quiet, they don't even know that the DevOps team is existing. That is when you're doing your work, because it shows that, oh, you figured out a good part of the problems. But if you come and they're always shouting DevOps, DevOps, DevOps everywhere, just know that there's still like plenty of work to do. So you want to get to that state of calm where application is running fine, the developers are not complaining, everybody is happy, management is happy, customer is happy, business is happy, and yeah, like everybody's happy. I think that's really it for me. I can take questions or stuff if there's any.
All right. Thank you, Uche. I really learned a lot. Please, if you have questions, you can either raise up your hands or type it in the chat section. Okay, I think there's already one. Okay, Augustine said, what does code merging mean?
Okay, 1 minute. Code merging. So if you have experience using a tool like GitHub, the idea with GitHub is that it's a shared repository. So let's say I'm working with Augustine, right? And we are building different features. Maybe Augustine is building a feature to develop a blue button. And me, I'm working on a green button for the homepage. He's building his blue button on a local branch in his laptop. And so we're working differently. He's building his thing, I'm building his thing. But then there comes a point where we have to push our code to that shared repository that everybody has access to. And there has to be a neutral branch that is just there, that Augustine will now merge, that's the term, but it's basically pushing your code into that branch. And then I'll push my code into that branch. So let's say there's a main branch and Augustine is working on branch A in his local, and I'm working on branch B in my local. He merges branch A to the main branch, and I merge branch B to the main branch. So the main branch now contains my code and his code. Did that answer the question? But do I need to clarify?
I think I got it. Augustine, did I answer the question? Okay. But I really learned. Okay, he's back. Okay, while we wait for him to reply, another question says, as a beginner in DevOps, what position can I start with to begin my career? DevOps engineering.
What position? I'm not sure what you mean position, but if you're really sure that you want to do DevOps, then just go for DevOps. Learn the basics on your own, because anybody that wants to give you a job wants to know that, oh, at least you've done part of the work, even if it's internship position. But learn the basics of the role and just maybe try out internships or like junior roles.
All right. Okay. Please keep sending your questions. Whenever I thought of DevOps, I always thought cloud computing or cloud engineering. So is there a link or relation between cloud and DevOps, or they are totally different?
Oh, there is a link. So when all the times I've been saying deploy your code to a server, deploy your code to a server, your server is most likely going to be in the cloud.
Oh.
So this server that we are going to deploy our code to is most likely going to be in the cloud. And you need to have, and then okay, when you want to deploy your code to the server, you have to know other things about cloud computing generally. So yes, there is definitely a link, because you end up working in the cloud as a DevOps engineer.
Okay. Okay. Cornelia has a question. Please, you can ask your question.
Okay. Please, I would like to know how DevOps fits into the whole serverless infrastructure, because you mentioned servers just now.
Okay. Like I said, if you're deploying code, it means that you're deploying it somewhere. Typically, you deploy your codes to, like, we call them, I don't want to use AWS terms because like AWS, it sits on AWS, but they're like virtual machines. So virtual machines are like, imagine having your own computer on the internet, or should I say on the cloud. And so when you're accessing an instance on the cloud, it's almost like you're accessing any regular computer, but the point is that it's on the cloud and it's optimized to serve millions of people's requests, right? So this is one phase of it. Oh, I'm going to be deploying my code to an instance on the cloud. But then cloud computing has evolved, and there is this case where oh, rather than deploy my code to a full instance on the cloud, can I utilize serverless computing? So this serverless computing is like offerings from cloud providers. The truth is, even there's still like an instance behind the scene, but you don't have anything to do with that instance. You're not going to go there and manage it. You're not going to go there and assess it. It's almost like you carry your code and just drop it somewhere and then someone will run it for you. So that's where serverless comes in. It's still deploying your code, but in this case, I'm not going to deploy my code to an instance that I'll manage. I'm just going to be deploying my code to a Lambda function, maybe AWS because I use AWS a lot. And yeah, my code will run. AWS handles everything. So no servers on my end. I'm just able to run my code. Did that help?
Yeah, it did. Thank you.
Okay. Any other question? Please just raise your hand. Send it in the chat.
Oh,
Okay.
so I want to ask a question, right? Hello?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
for beginners, right, who are like total beginners in this right, do they need to start from software engineering, like web development and programming and stuff like that, or can they just dive into cloud and then from there find their path into DevOps?
So like I said, like there is no, the truth is that there's no one way to do this thing. For beginners, if the focus is DevOps, I would say you can dive in. But I would also say that it helps to have at least foundational knowledge of how code works. So you will even begin to see that if you want to start practicing DevOps on your own, if you don't have code, you can't do anything. There's nothing to push. There's nothing to deploy. So you may not want to do, oh, I'm learning programming, but you might as well just take like a basic JavaScript or just a basic thing just to see how code works. That being said, there are people that don't know how to write a line of code and they're DevOps engineers. Like I said, depending on the company you're going into, the requirements may be different. You might be going into a company that's, they don't mind. But then I've seen companies that if you cannot do serious code, they're not DevOps for you. It all just depends on like the company's maturity. But I'll say if you are a beginner and you're looking to start and you've never written a line of code, you try. Just do something basic and then start, because in the end, but the truth is, if you're even going to learn DevOps, if you're going to take a tutorial, you'll most likely see a place where they'll try and code something because, of course, how are you going to learn if you're not going to push any kind of code? So it's not essential. You can get away with not knowing how to code, but it will also do you well if you pick like basic coding skills.
Okay, thank you so much. A follow-up question. So during your presentation, you mentioned, I think your last point was about being customer focused. And I know that couple fit in tech, customer focused, like product management, technical sales, and stuff like that. And you also mentioned that for DevOps. But I also realized something. It may be a misconception though, that most areas in tech that are consumer focused are less technical to some extent. So where does DevOps fit into it? Where does it tilt more into?
Sorry, what does it tilt more into, as in technical?
Yeah, like does it tilt more into the um consumer side of things or the technical side of things?
DevOps is definitely technical. but technical in the consumer way. So if your product manager is managing bad products, your customer will not be happy in the end. So it's like DevOps is the customer person in the engineering team or in the technical side. Because everything you're doing is, when we eventually ship something out, let it be quality software. And let us make sure that end users can access it anywhere. So it's customer focused in like different directions, right? The product manager is there to say, do everything possible, gather everyone possible to make this product work. But products in the maybe functional sense of the products, but the technical functioning of the products is where the DevOps guys are tilted to. So I'll say yes, your customer focus, but like more in the technical aspect.
Thank you.
Okay, there's a question here. It said, does one pay for cloud space?
Yes, typically. I mean, they have to make money. They are a business and they have to make money. But the thing with many cloud spaces is that they would give beginners, they may give you 1 free year to play around with stuff. They may cap it. They may give you limits, or you can use this institute instance for only this amount of time. Some people may give you like, take $300 free credits that you can use in the first 1 year. So yes, typically you would pay, but if you're new to the cloud, all cloud service providers try to like help you ease up, just give you some free services that you can start to use before they now start charging you.
Okay. Coincidentally, I saw something on Twitter previously complaining about the costs of AWS and Kubernetes. How and you, as you were talking about giving beginners like a free period, they're like it starts and suddenly a bill of $53,000 to your Kubernetes and AWS.
So like I
So
said,
it seems it just yeah.
no, continue, please.
Okay, so it seems like the cost of DevOps, it seems like it's more expensive than the normal front end or back end or mobile app dev.
It's more expensive. Okay, let me just try to approach this in a simple way. It's pay as you use.
Okay.
It's pay as you use. So if I'm a small startup and I'm using only 2 servers, and they're not large scale servers, and it's meeting my customers' need, of course my cost will be lower. But you don't expect a company operating at a large scale that is using maybe like 100 to 200 servers. Of course you pay more. So the truth is there's usually like a price to everything. The problem is, so let me say like that person complaining on Twitter. They give you free services and they've capped it though. They've told you that, for this thing to be free, you have to run it for so amount of time. Then you go and start one EC2 instance and then you leave it running for 2 years. Or you leave it running past. So when that's why learning cloud technology is a different ball game entirely. There's some people that just work on the cloud. You need to know how to manage your cost on the cloud. For people that will just be getting started, when you go and open an AWS account or a GCP account, you have to manage your costs. If you finish learning what you want to learn, turn off the instance and go. If you leave it running 1 month, 2 months, and then you come back, you see bills now. Well, I'm very sure it's not up to $50,000.
All right. Thank you very much for clarifying that. Also, the same person says, can one person write a code and also perform the function of a DevOps?
Yes. I mean, I don't wish it for anybody in their professional life, but
Wow.
but I'm sure that there are places where Yeah, DevOps engineers probably write code too, but that's not the standard, right? You shouldn't be even if you want to code like in a in a good or like acceptable standard. Even if you're coding, you're typically not coding for the products. So it's different if I'm coding now and I'm coding because I want to build this monitoring tool that will help me, assess monitoring data better. I'm building for DevOps, or I'm building for that's my operations work. It's different from I'm building Paystack's API. You're typically not going to be building on the product level. You're most likely just going to be coding to make your DevOps work easier. But are there companies where their DevOps engineer will code? I want to imagine that they exist. Are there people that probably maybe switched from, like I told you, you have some software engineers that switched to DevOps? Is it possible that they want to combine both roles along the way? Possible. So there are instances that can happen, but typically shouldn't.
Okay, thank you. And then finally, I think you answered this question talking about, is there any particular, you talked about different towards being a DevOps engineer, but is there any particular programming language that is essential for that?
DevOps or the programming language you typically find in many job descriptions is Python and then maybe Go. But yeah, there's no emphasis. Typically, you go to an organization, this is the stack that they're working in, and then you just have to figure out how to do things with that stack. Is there like that one programming language that you must learn? No, or I don't know about it. But people typically tilt towards no Python and then no and maybe Go. And then your scripting has to be good as well. So like bash scripting and maybe scripting in Python, stuff like that.
Okay. All right. A follow-up question to set. Okay, similar. From your experience, which skill sets or track, would you recommend or advise as necessary skills for a DevOps engineer? So I think the person is talking about not just technical skills, but also other skills that you need to kickstart your career in DevOps.
Skill sets, I mean, we have discussed like some stuff on this call. I think the basic thing you want to know is just understanding. I want to build a pipeline. And like I already said, like there are many tools you can use to build a pipeline. So it's not exact. You can start by, I want to build a pipeline, learn Git, because that's the first stage in just sending. Learn how to use Git. Then learn how to use a build tool. Jenkins is a very popular one. And try to deploy something to the cloud. Very basic level. So pick Git, pick a build tool, Jenkins, GitHub Actions, then pick a bit of cloud. And I think so whether you like it or not, that's like a very small pipeline already, even though this person has not incorporated testing or other finicky works. You can now carry code from somebody's laptop to a server in the cloud. As you go on, you can start to expand on like, picking up another CI tool. There's a part where you want to learn infrastructure automation. To be honest with you, there's no one, or I've not figured out that perfect direction, but just try to build a basic pipeline. Git's essential. A build tool like Jenkins or a build or CI/CD tool like Jenkins. Cloud computing. What else? I think that's basic enough. And then you can sprinkle like tiny coding just so that you when you even say that you're building an app, just so that you understand what's happening behind the scene. Because building is like a coding concept, typically.
All right. Thank you so much. So, are there any other questions? Please just raise up your hand or send them to the chat. Meanwhile, I posted the link on the chat. We really need your feedback. So just go on the in-call messages and then click on the link and then fill the form. We hope to be better, provide better webinar services and all that. So please, and also you can follow us on social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Just search on the GirlLEAD Project and hope to hear more from you. So are there any other questions? Okay. I think that's it for questions. So guys, I hope we all understood the whole concept of DevOps engineering. I hope you enjoyed the session. Nobody's answering me. What's happening? I wish I.
Yes, I did, Precious. Thanks. And thanks to
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you. Thank you. So thank you, Onyinye, for this wonderful presentation. I really learned a lot about DevOps. Usually, people go towards web dev or mobile app dev or product design, but you really opened my eyes with regards DevOps engineering. So thank you. Please, do you have any social media accounts where they can follow you? Is it Twitter? eh,
You can, I think LinkedIn. I'm sorry, but my social media life is a little on the low. You can follow me on LinkedIn. My name's Onyinye Uche. You can follow me on Twitter. Silon23, SYLON.
Okay, SY. Oh, sorry, I can get S.
Silon.
Okay.
Then 23.
Okay. Okay. Groupie. So please, do not forget to follow her on Twitter, on LinkedIn. Very soon she'll be verified. All right. So thank you guys. Please, the slides will be sent to your mails after this presentation. So do not worry about that. You can go through it in your leisure time and maybe things that you missed out on during the presentation, you can see them. So thank you, Ye, once more. Really grateful for taking out time to educate us on DevOps. And thank you guys for staying with us till the end. So another webinar will be coming up next month, and I hope to see you there and we'll learn on something new. Thank you and have a pleasant week ahead. So goodbye, guys.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, Onyinye, for the wonderful session. Have a good day.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.